Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends normally spin a wheel once a week and it normally chooses the horror film, but we are doing something super special for Halloween. We're going to be covering the Hellraiser franchise day by day. So I was lucky enough to get Joe Testa, the one and only, back to cover this with me. So join us if you're interested in this series. We're going to be doing this literally the second Hellraiser movie up until the latest one, not the remake. So we're going to be covering those every single day. This is my first time doing the franchise. This is Joe has seen these in the past, so it's kind of like two different perspectives. But here we are. So today we are talking Hellraiser II, Hellbound, which was released in 1988 and was directed by Tony Randall. And I'm your co-host Alec, and joining me is Joe Testa. Welcome back, Joe.
Thank you, Alec. Are you ready for this journey? I don't think you are. I don't think anyone can be.
Dude, I mean, I've always been curious. I've always
Yes.
been curious, but like, I've never heard anybody be like, "Oh, they're really good," or like, "Oh yeah, there's a couple bad ones, but like some of them are really good." It's like overwhelmingly negative.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but I've seen the first one, I've seen the remake, and I had seen the second one previously. So like, I know a little bit of what to expect. But yeah, what's your history with this? I mean, you got the box set in the background. I mean, what's going on?
Well, before we jump into that, this series is all about kind of pleasure and pain, and there's going to be a lot of pain, some pleasure. Pinhead has a line in the first one, something like "We are explorers in the furthest reaches of experience," something like that, and that's what we are.
Yeah.
We are explorers in in the furthest reaches of pain and pleasure.
Angels to some, demons to others. That's right.
Indeed. Yeah, and I think it'll be an interesting journey, beyond whether the movies are good and bad. I think we're going to have some interesting conversations about how these movies came to be, and there's actually some actors who get their start in this series, and I think
Mm.
that'll be fun to see. And anyway, I think it will be a very interesting journey. But yeah, my journey to this series, like for the as far as the first movie, I watched that one and this one when I was kind of you know exploring the genre as a kid.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I feel like Pinhead was a character that I remember seeing in books, and when you see that image, you're like, what is this movie?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
I remember I rented it, and I'll be honest, I think that first movie and this movie just was it kind of went over my head.
Yeah.
It's exploring things that I couldn't appreciate. I
Well, how
mean,
old were you? Like,
I 10
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, between 10 and 12, something like that.
Yeah.
So I was pretty familiar with, the genre at that point, but I think I wanted a particular kind of experience, something that, probably resembled like the Nightmare on Elm Street series or the Friday the 13th movies. And this is, much different, much more sophisticated, I'd say. And honestly, more kind of European.
Oh yeah, big
I
time.
mean, I almost feel like there is kind of a European art movie kind of feel to these. I mean, Clive Barker is British. A lot of the
Yep.
the cast and crew were British. So yeah, I wouldn't say I didn't like it because I remember I saw part two pretty soon after and followed the franchise for a while.
Mm.
So I was more a casual fan.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about this on the episode that Eric and I did in 2020. So we covered the first Hellraiser literally in our first 31 episodes. So if you want to go back and listen to that, it is like episode like 10 or something like that. But yeah, I had never seen these growing up. I was way more afraid of Pinhead than anybody else. I mean, I remember distinctly walking through the Blockbuster aisles and like seeing all the horror faces and Pinhead being the most scary to me. And I was too afraid. I'd seen Freddy, I'd seen Jason, I'd seen everybody, but this one I was like, I can't do it.
Hmm.
And then when I was studying abroad in London, I went to this museum. It was like a film museum, and they had a Clive Barker exhibit. And I was like, this is so sick. Like, and it was all this Hellraiser stuff. And I was like, I didn't know anything. So I was like, oh, is this like a big British movie? And then I went to the school that I was staying at, and they had these movies at the library. So I rented the first two and I watched them. And just like you, I was like, this is not what I was expecting. Where is Pinhead? Like, what is this like love affair telenovela kind of like movie? But then, I watched the second one and I think I like the second one better. I think
Hmm.
I do. It just kind of gives you more of what you want. Um, but these two movies are great because it's kind of like Halloween 1 and 2, where it's just like it's like one movie basically. If you just watch them back to back, like the second one starts right where the first one ends. So
Hmm.
it's nice. I appreciated that. Except for the boyfriend, they're just like, yeah, yeah, we sent him home. He's good.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like, wait, that guy was like a big deal. He was like in the movie, um, but yeah, no. Overall, these first two I think are actually they're good movies. And especially considering both of them were done by first-time directors too. Like
Hmm.
that's insane to me that they were able to pull that off.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, it's an interesting franchise, and I am interested to see where it goes. I don't have high hopes, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah, and these two movies do feel of a piece, even more so to me than Halloween 1 and 2, and it's
Mm,
surprising because Clive Barker does not come back to direct this movie.
yeah,
He doesn't come back to write it. From what I understand, he was really busy. I mean, he does everything. He's a painter, he's a novelist, so I think he was busy with other projects, maybe even Nightbreed, I'm not sure.
yeah.
But Peter Atkins, the writer of this one, he and Clive Barker were in a theater company together,
Mm,
and so they were close. And he will go on to write the next two movies as well.
okay.
And I believe the director of this one was a producer on the first movie, and Clive handed the reins over to him. And yeah, it surprisingly, it does feel like you know two pieces that go perfectly together.
Yeah. No, it really does. I mean, it doesn't only like the story doesn't feel like that, but it like the way that it's shot. I mean, the
Mhm.
makeup is fairly similar to the first movie. Yeah, the thing that I noticed in the first movie, I'm sure you know about this, they like dubbed over the lines, the British people.
Yeah, I know Frank, like he's kind of more the villain of the movie. I
Right.
know, I feel for that guy because that must have sucked. Like all his dialogue was dubbed over.
Yeah, and then this one I don't think they did. So it didn't feel as like stilted as the first
Hmm.
one, the acting, even though the acting it was decent. But yeah, no, I like also that they kind of, everybody wanted to know more about the Cenobites after the first one. That it's like
Hmm.
I want Pinhead, I want to know everything about him. And I like how this one kind of like teases you a little bit with his
Yeah.
backstory, just a little bit. They're like, oh, okay, that's Elliot Spencer. Here's a picture of him. Here's him touching the box. Here's him getting made to Pinhead, but that's about it. And I kind of love that. That's kind of how it starts. Um,
Yes.
but the first one ends. Did they retcon it kind of? Because it ends with Kirsty and Steve, her boyfriend, like giving the box to like a homeless person, and then like a pterodactyl monster like flies away with it, and then it goes back to like Morocco.
Right,
Right?
right. Yeah, now that you mention it, I guess they are playing a little fast and loose there.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? What are you
Yeah.
gonna
To
do?
me, this movie does what every good sequel does. It kind of expands the world and
Yeah.
fleshes things out. It feels bigger.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like a Terminator or Terminator 2 situation. I think or even Aliens.
Hmm.
I feel like I probably prefer if we could do a big ranking maybe at the
Oh
end,
yeah. We should.
but I think I do prefer the first movie, just the kind of simplicity of it. It's at
Yeah.
the end of the day, it is just kind of a haunted house movie.
Hmm.
And this movie just is goes bonkers by the end, and in a
Yeah.
good way to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But I think I prefer that first movie, but I'll tell you, rewatching this, and I watched it not too long ago. I don't know how long it's been, a couple of years. I got this Hellraiser Quartet of Torment box set. It's the first four movies from
Uh,
Arrow. Um and that's how I watched it, and I was pretty blown away by this. I gotta be honest.
what's the format? Is it, did they put it on
It
4K?
4K, yeah, they're all
Oh, that's
4K.
awesome. Okay, so
Yeah.
really quick, if anybody's just listening, you should watch these. These are on YouTube video now. But yeah, Joe is showing the
Yes.
the box set, so you can check out that. So that's the thing. Like the first four seem like the ones that people all like still appreciate. Like you saw Bloodline in theaters recently when you and I went to the New Bev, and
Mhm.
clearly the box set has the first four. So those are the ones that people like, it seems like.
Yeah, and opinions vary on those too.
Yeah.
But the first four were theatrical releases. I
Oh, the fourth
believe,
one. Okay.
yep, I believe Clive Barker had some involvement in the first four.
Hmm.
And then yeah, after that it goes direct to video until the new Hulu movie.
Right.
Um, and even those are of varying quality.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so I'm glad we're doing, yeah, obviously we're going in order, but yeah, man, this second one, the music's great. It starts
Hmm.
off, it's like here's a little recap of the first one kind of, but it's that like really great orchestral music.
Oh.
It reminds me of Candyman a little bit. I know it's not the same
Mhm.
guy, but it reminds me of that. But he did something else great, that the guy that did the music for this, Christopher Young. He did
Oh
something.
yeah.
Oh,
He
he's
did
done
Night
everything. Oh my God.
he did Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
That's right. Okay.
I know he's worked with Sam Raimi quite a bit. And yeah,
Yep.
when his name, like I've seen these movies quite a bit, especially these first two, but I don't know these movies the way I know certain other franchises we covered. So when I'm watching the credits, and I see his name pop up, I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
because we players in this series do drop off, like
Mm.
by the next movie, I think all we have is the writer and Doug Bradley, left from the original crew. So I was very happy to see Christopher Young's name in the credits.
The music like makes this movie. It's got
Mhm.
such like a fantastical feel to it. A lot of 80s movies kind of do. Like this,
Mhm.
it's just the way they shot the lighting, the music. It kind of, in a weird way, is like a very dark, never-ending story or something like that. But
It's funny you mentioned that because towards the end of this movie, that is something I wanted to bring up, whereas it does feel like almost an 80s dark fantasy,
yeah.
and
Oh,
and I
definitely.
I have read a little bit of Clive Barker. I've read The Hellbound Heart, which this series is based on, and I also read what was it? The name of it escapes me, but
Yeah.
he does read or he does write a lot of epic dark fantasy, not even really horror. And I think that comes through in this movie even more than the first movie.
Yeah, I just feel like the set pieces too. Yeah, it just reminded me of like Labyrinth or something like
Labyrinth,
that.
totally.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So a lot of 80s movies just have that feeling of just like, I don't know, this like otherworldly magical power that's just like happening in the world. And I
Yeah.
don't know. They did, I feel like movies don't really have that feel anymore, but this definitely did.
And
Um,
and I think what may assist in that is the very charming old school practical special effects, like those
yeah,
matte paintings when we get
dude.
into the labyrinth, and
Yeah.
the stop motion animation. I'm such a mark for all that. So when that all starts during the climax, I'm just like, yes, give it to me.
Dude, I'm such a sucker for matte paintings too. Like I love them. Like I'd rather see a matte painting than CGI any day of the week. And Leviathan or whatever, that whole thing is so great of an example of that. So yeah, I mean, the movie. We'll get to it. Obviously, we're gonna go through it a bit, but yeah, by the end, I was a little bit. I liked it, but I was confused. Mainly by I don't know, just what's the point? I
Yeah.
guess I know it's kind of like I probably shouldn't present that up top, but like, who's calling the shots here? Like, what is Leviathan, or like, what is this like? Is it like a demon? What is it? And why does it want to kill its own Cenobites now? So I'm kind of confused a little bit.
Oh no, as good a time as I had watching this movie and I had a ball, I was gonna say at a certain point, maybe about an hour in, like after that, I could tell you what's happening, but I can't tell you why.
Yeah, yeah,
You
you know what
know?
it is? It just like feels like I can't think of really any great examples, but like scenes just end and
Mhm.
then it just picks up later. Like I guess like when Shenard brings the blonde girl back or whatever, you're just like, when did this all happen? And she's just
Mhm.
like there, like things just kind of happen. It feels like a dream, kind of like out of
Yeah.
sequence or whatever. And I don't know if that was just like budget or they cut things or whatever, but it feels a little disjointed at times where I'm kind of like, I don't really understand the character's motivations, but I don't really care. Like I
Mhm.
like, it's just so the themes and the cinematic, wow, cinematography, just the cinema of it all. I just get like lost in it. I don't really care.
Yeah, yeah. Another one. It was reminding me of like Dream Warriors. When they're
Yeah.
in the dream world. I just such great, creepy, surreal imagery, and a lot of stuff is just left pretty ambiguous. Which in this movie, it's fine. There will be more examples of that in other movies where it's frustrating. But yeah, I was just kind of going with the flow
Yeah,
at a
that's the way
certain
to do
point.
it.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. But yeah, this movie starts off, we learn a little bit about how Pinhead became Pinhead. We see that he's like an old soldier from like the 20s, I think. He's a British soldier and there's like his radio they show or whatever and I thought that was cool. You get to see like the actual like, needles getting put into his head and his skin getting all peeled back. And I'm like, all right, I like this.
hmm
And then it goes to I guess like a mental asylum,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
every horror franchise goes to New York City, a mental asylum, and space. Like there's
Yeah.
always those three tropes.
Yeah, this series checks all those boxes.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Um,
yeah.
but if we could rewind just a little
Yeah,
bit,
yeah.
the very first image you see is from part one, and it's
Mhm.
Frank getting his face pulled apart.
Yeah.
And that is just like a nightmarish image.
Yeah.
And like I love in 80s movies when we would get like in a sequel, we would get a quick recap of the movie. It
Hmm.
was just so cool to see. Like some of the Friday the 13th movies have montages in the beginning, and
Hmm.
I always just love seeing how they put that together and the music they kind of put over it. It was just always fun to see a recap, and this one is really good, and that first image is pretty startling. But yeah, we do get to see a little bit of Pinhead's backstory, which is intriguing. And
Yeah.
yeah, this mental asylum, sometimes these institutions are kind of cool, like in Dream Warriors, or I'm thinking Ginger Snaps 2 for some reason. Like it could be a fun place to set a horror movie,
Yeah.
but this place is scary. They show the floors and like there's the basement and below the basement it's just called maintenance and
Yeah.
that's where Channard goes and that's where like the real crazies are kept. Very kind of disturbing.
Dude, it was like in the Mouth of Madness. Like
hmm
it was a lot like that, just like padded walls and people, like in straight jackets, like scraping their face. It's like there's like a furnace down there too. You're like,
hmm
oh my God, like this place is terrible.
Yeah.
Who's funding this? But I think I could be wrong, but is it this one? This is called the Channard Institute, I think, and
Yes.
that's Dr. Channard is that British guy, and
hmm
I mean, it feels like a Nazi kind of like experimental place. Like, yeah, you're right. They've got like not the regular, but like the people that are that aren't in the basement basically. So they
hmm
keep them in tiers. And Kirsty, I guess I'm a little, I mean, well, it doesn't matter, but how did she get there? I mean, like the last time we see her, she's giving the homeless guy the box, and then all of a sudden now she's in a bed, and you're like, damn. So, all right. So she's there. Her boyfriend's just gone. They're explaining him away in one line. They're like, Steve's at home. You're like,
hmm
okay. And then it's Dr. Schnard and his partner Kyle. And Kyle's like the young guy. He's from Aliens.
hmm
He's like the one of the Marines or whatever. And he just becomes Steve's like replacement basically. He's just like, I'm young, I'm attractive, like how you doing? So Kirsty and him kind of hit up like a little, I guess, fake romantic thing. It doesn't go anywhere, but and then we learn there's this other girl. I can't remember her name. It starts with a T. Is it Tiffany, the blonde
Yeah.
girl?
hmm
Yeah, and she's just kind of like in the asylum. It's like she only does like like puzzles. You're like, okay, well, there's a puzzle box, so like, what's
Yeah.
gonna
And
something's
I'm
gonna happen.
definitely getting Patricia Arquette vibes
Yeah,
from Dream Warriors from her.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And we don't learn too much about her background, right?
It's just kind of, we see little fragments of it later in the labyrinth.
Yeah, right, right, right. Yeah,
So
exactly.
it seems like Trenard maybe saw some kind of potential in her and wanted to use her in some way to, he's interested in the occult,
Hmm.
and he feels like he could use her in some way. And it's implied, I think, that she was taken away from her mother.
Right. Yeah. So she's mute. She doesn't talk at all. So she just does puzzles all day, but no Rubik's Cube. You'd think the 80s would be like, give her a Rubik's Cube, see how fast she can do it. But she gets no Rubik's Cube. She does a bunch of puzzles though, and with Chenard's, I guess like just so everybody else knows, there was Frank and Julia, and the father. I can't remember Jerry, I think. And the father's dead. Frank is also dead, and Julia's all dead. So Kirsty's really the only one from the first movie that's like carrying on the plot, basically. And she's like, hey, you guys, like, there's demons. She's telling the psychiatrist all this stuff, and he's kind of like, okay, demon, sure. But he knows about this stuff. His whole apartment is full of, the lament configuration drawings and Elliot Spencer information. So he knows about this stuff. Um, and she tells them, she's like, you guys got to get rid of that bed. That's where Julia died or whatever, which I'm kind of like, how did she know that that can bring anybody back? But
Hmm.
she somehow
Good
knows
call.
that's she's like, you guys got to throw that bed out because that's how the demons will come back or whatever. So then the doctor's like, sweet, I'm gonna go get that bed then. So he
Yeah.
just like makes a phone call. He's like, bring the bed to my house. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay. So they just go to this apartment and take this, or the house has nothing to really do with anything that he's involved with. They take the bed, bring it over to his house, and his assistant's like, this guy is kind of an asshole. Like, and Kirsty's kind of hot. So I guess I'm gonna go, like, break into his house and spy on him. Because Kirsty's like, you gotta, like, why did she send him? Why didn't she go? I guess because she's a patient, probably.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah. So Kyle goes to the house, and this scene is pretty intense.
Oh my God. This, to me, this might be the centerpiece of the whole series. Like
Mm,
I mean,
wow.
that might be a bold uh statement, but I was pretty blown away by this. And this is one of those scenes that's just kind of burned into my memory since I was a kid. But yeah, what we get here is somehow the doctor knows that spilling blood on the mattress
Mm,
will lead to some sort of resurrection of the person who died on it. I'm assuming
right.
it's something like that. So instead of instead of figuring out a more humane way to do that, he brings one of his psychotic patients um, into the room onto the mattress. This patient believes he's covered in like maggots,
Yeah.
and he hands the patient a razor. And this is a very, very disturbing, brutal, gruesome scene.
Yeah.
And he bleeds onto the mattress, and yes, Julia, who is also kind of the main villain of the first movie, a villain,
Yeah.
and to give you a little behind the scenes information, was supposed to be the villain of this series going forward.
Mm,
But
mm.
she was more of a theater actress. She didn't want to be, and I think it was in her words, the female Freddy Krueger. Um,
That would have been cool.
yeah, it could have been interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, Julia, rises from this mattress without any skin.
Yeah.
And I think it is just an incredible scene. Just, I mean, and not only is it gruesome and disturbing, but also kind of beautiful. I mean, just like her, the makeup effects here are like just a piece of art.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about do you remember that museum exhibit Bodies? It traveled around the country,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was actual cadavers that,
Yep.
they would put in like sports positions. And yeah, I remember going to see it, but
Oh, you did? Oh, shit.
yeah, I did see it. It was interesting, but like, yeah, I was just kind of blown away by this. And I could understand why little Joe, who saw this, a couple of decades ago, like you don't know what to feel watching this. Like the other horror movies are very simple, kind of. Are you supposed to be scared? Are you supposed to be, is this funny? Like this is
Mm.
this is just weird and twisted in a different way. And like I said, beautiful and in a scene or two, also kind of sexy. I'm just gonna go out and say it. But give me your take on it.
Well, no, dude. I mean, it's super impressive. I mean, when she stands up and her back, it really does look like Jason from part seven, his like skeletal back, like the way that,
Yeah.
yeah, her body looks very realistic to a human body.
Mhm.
Really quick, it's funny that you said, most horror movies can be funny or they like kind of tell you how
Mhm.
to feel or whatever. This franchise so far, there is like zero comedy. Like even the
Yeah.
the way that the characters interact with each other is not that like goofy 80s, like, come on, screwhead, like that's mine. Like there's
Mhm.
none of that crap. It's just everybody kind of is tense, and there really is no comedic relief at all in the first two of
Yeah.
these.
Yeah.
Um, and this
It's true.
scene, you're right, it doesn't, it's scary because it's a bloody corpse that comes out of a bed and is killing a guy. Like that's scary, but the way that it's done is so drawn out, and it's like she's trying to eat him and then she like stuffs her hand into his head, and like you're just like, oh, and there's one guy like behind the curtain like, what the fuck, like this
Yeah.
is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is an intense scene that I could not probably have handled at 12. I could tell you that.
Yeah.
Like 22 I
Yeah.
think is when I saw it and I was like, damn, this is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. It's really incredible.
Yeah.
And it should be said that the actress's name that plays Julia, who's incredible, um, her name is escaping me.
Yeah, I think it's Claire
Um,
Higgins. Claire Higgins.
Claire Higgins.
Yeah.
This isn't her.
Yeah.
This is a double because they wanted someone, really thin
Mm.
who, if you were to take off all your your skin, you would
Yeah.
be considerably thinner. And, when you're putting the prosthetics on, you're just going to get bigger. So they needed someone smaller. They did the same thing in the first movie with Frank.
Hmm.
And fun piece of trivia, the patient that cuts himself up, that is the guy who played Frank under the makeup in the first movie.
I had heard that, and they wanted to
Mhm.
give him like a face role, basically.
Yeah.
So that, which is good. That's cool,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's sick.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, especially in 1980, 88 or whatever, 87, 88, both of them. The makeup, the skinless, like everything looks like wet and just like
Oh,
shiny, and it's just it's a very specific feel, these movies. And yeah, the gore is impressive.
mhm.
And not like, I know this is gonna sound crazy. It's not gratuitous, I don't feel like, you know?
That's that's what I'm trying to say, and
Yeah.
I can't articulate it right. There's an elegance to it. There's a
Yeah.
beauty to it.
Yeah.
It's not gruesome the way, you name it.
Terrifier.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not. There is just something about Claire standing there without any skin. There's just something kind of elegant about it. And you only if you watch it will you kind of understand. Although I could understand someone watching it and being totally appalled as well. And that kind of I was thinking this while watching it. Where was the MPAA with these movies? Because
Hmm.
at this time, this is the late 80s. I think this one's 88.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, at this time, like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies were under a lot of scrutiny. Like I know Part Five got, scenes taken out. Friday the 13th, 7 we talked about. That was another one that really got the scissors taken to it. I
Yeah.
don't know why these movies seem to kind of get a pass. I know maybe certain things were taken out, but I mean, you can't compare something like this. Although there is that fantasy element here that maybe they they gave a pass because of that. I don't know.
Maybe they're looking at it more like it's a monster or something like
Yeah,
that, as like but I mean Freddy Krueger is a monster too, but
sure. Yeah.
yeah, it just I mean maybe it really kind of goes back to what you're saying. It's more of like a art as
Yeah,
opposed to like cheap
it's not a
thrills.
slasher.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't have that kind of exploitation slasher movie vibe. So still, I'm shocked that something like this was, you know, in theaters at the same time certain other horror movies were that, faced a lot more.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It is shocking. I guess this it probably is the most gruesome scene in the movie, though. I was trying to think ahead. I'm like, there is a scene where Julia's skin gets ripped off, but that's so fast, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, there's stuff coming up though that gets pretty intense.
Sure.
But so the scene, yeah, I mean, so now we see Julia's back, and now she's basically in the Frank position from the first
Mhm.
movie, where she needs Shenard to help her, regain her strength by giving her sacrifices, basically.
Mhm.
And she needs a lot. She needed like nine people, basically.
Yeah.
But they kind of like just brushed through this part because I think in the first movie it's like, okay, we get it, because Julia had to like go to bars and like seduce men, and it feels like Dr. Chenard was just like calling up patients or prostitutes and basically
Mhm.
just bringing them over to his like super cool chic 80s mansion. And yeah, so all these people just get murdered and Julia comes back, but before she comes back, there is that scene very much like, have you ever seen the 60s movie Eyes Without a Face? It's a French film.
No, but I know that image. Like I've seen
Yeah.
the movie poster.
Dude, it was kind of like that a little
Hmm.
bit. That's a great movie too. You should check that one out. But um, but yeah, so they wrap her up in bandages, and because obviously he's like, you're kind of fucking up my carpet, my walls, and my robes by
Yeah.
just putting blood all over everything. So he's like, let's wrap you up. Um, so yeah, she doesn't really talk about like where she's been or what she's been
Hmm.
going through in the last, like, I guess, like 2 days or whatever it's been. But she's just back and she knows how to get back to her human form, I guess, kind of. And Dr. Schnard is like, this is awesome, let's do this. But they never have that conversation of like, I want to be a Cenobite, or like, and but it's kind of just like implied by the end.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And
so
these scenes with Trinard and Julia, like they are very weird and subversive and a little sexy. I'm gonna say it, like
yeah, a lot of bloody kissing and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And the first movie with Frank, most of those scenes take place in like a dark attic, but
Hmm.
this is like a really well lit, very sterile white house,
Yeah.
and you see like the blood trails and just really twisted. And yeah, I just kind of loved it.
No, it's good. I mean, and then Kirsty escapes with or yeah, so she escapes with Kyle, and they're like, all right, we're gonna sneak into Dr. Schnard's house or whatever and find out more. And that's where she learns about, or Kirsty learns about Elliot Spencer, and she's like, oh, what the fuck? So she like kind of knows, even though she doesn't, that that's Pinhead. So she takes the picture of Elliot
Hmm.
Spencer in his like file or whatever. And at this point, Kyle gets like seduced by Julia because Julia's back now. So she's eaten enough humans now that she takes it off and she's like, I'm back. And
Yeah,
so Kyle comes in, he's like, God damn, like this is crazy. And she's like, I'm Julia. And she like goes to kiss him or whatever, and then just kills Kyle. And you're like, well, Kyle's dead now. And then she eats Kyle because there's one little piece of her back still missing. So she
hmm
eats Kyle. So Kyle's dead. And then Kirsty comes in. They have this weird little like, reunion moment. And she's like, I'm no longer the wicked stepmother. I'm the evil queen. And like punches Kirsty across the face and knocks her out. And then right as that happens, Dr. Chenard walks in with Tammy or whatever. Is like, look who I've got. You're like, oh
yeah.
shit. So I'm like, is nobody's gonna check this? Like, there's no record of like, why did you sign our patient out? Like,
Yeah.
but
Or like, shouldn't that mattress be in police evidence?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Dr. Shinar basically gets away with whatever he wants.
Yeah. If I
So
if I may just say something about this moment,
yeah.
um, I'm on the record for not being a big fan of the most recent Hellraiser movie on Hulu,
Hmm.
which I haven't gone back to since it was released. I'd be curious to revisit it.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, what a strange world we live in now where, Hulu, which is owned by Disney, like Disney is essentially making Hellraiser movies, which is so strange. But then I started thinking about it. Like Hellraiser kind of does have some things in common with like the classic Disney animated movies, like the Wicked Stepmother thing,
Yeah.
you know? And Julia even calls it out. She calls Kirsty Snow
Snow
White.
White.
And
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
thought that was such a, I don't know. I just was kind of going down this rabbit hole thinking like what has happened to movies, what has happened to show business and with essentially Disney making Hellraiser movies. But there is that kind of Disney, I guess it's going back to what we were saying before. There's fairy tale elements in these movies.
Oh yeah, and especially at the end with like this big castle basically. So
Mhm.
it's no, definitely. I mean, yes, I mean these ones are still done by New World Pictures. So like the
Yeah.
first two are done by the same production company, but I think they switch hands like a lot
Yeah,
as
New
we go.
World goes out of business
Yeah,
between two and three.
right. So yeah, so we'll see, by the Weinsteins, everybody's kind of getting a piece of it now. Disney's got it, so it's going
Mhm.
everywhere. But yeah, so Kirsty and Tammy, they are like sucked into Leviathan, right? Or they're like they wake up in the castle.
Well, we haven't talked about Pinhead, so we get that
Yeah.
moment where Pinhead and the Cenobites show up. So Trennard, he has Tiffany solve the
Oh,
the
that's right.
puzzle box.
Yep, yep, that's right. Yeah, and that was a great scene.
Yeah,
I love
so good,
that. The
so good.
blue light and just like the pictures and everything flying everywhere. Yeah.
You better enjoy it while it lasts because I'd say something that, you know, I'll miss going forward is the way Pinhead and the Cenobites in these first two movies are treated with such kind of majesty.
Mm,
That the way they're lit, the music, it's just like without those elements these characters could come across a little silly to give you to give you a taste of maybe what we're going to get later on.
yeah.
And Doug Bradley's incredible. He
Yeah.
he always gives it his all, and I'm not saying across the board, but there are moments later where, if you don't give this character the proper visual, treatment, you know, he could come across silly. And I
Yeah.
think here is just fantastic.
He looks great. The music is great, but I will say I actually did laugh a little bit when he's just like, no. And she's like, no. And he's like, no. I was like, all right, like,
Yeah,
okay.
so the other Cenobites are ready to kill Tiffany
No, yeah,
because
yeah. I knew what
they've
they were
been,
doing, but it was just
yeah,
the
yeah,
way he said no. It was just so
yeah,
like, I don't know, it felt weird.
yeah.
But yeah, so I'm glad we get the same Cenobites from the first
Mhm,
movie. So that was cool. It's like, we don't know anything about these guys, but at
mhm.
least it's the same woman, the same fat guy, the same chattery guy, we get all of them back. Uh,
Different actress for the female. She looks a little different,
you can
but yeah,
tell.
it's the
Yeah.
same characters. And Chatterer is a little different too. If you notice, he has eyes here, and apparently the actor just complained about like not being able to see all day on the set.
Yeah.
So that's he looks a little different, but yeah, same characters as the first movie.
I know the Chatter thing. There's like a lot of controversy about that. People are like pissed off. They're like, Chatter has eyes now. And then I saw like the some article or whatever, and it's like the actor was like, I can't see,
Yeah,
hear, or talk. He's like, I need help. And
yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was so funny. So yeah, so Chatter has eyes now. People are mad, but and then yeah, so Chenard's like, oh my God, this is insane. Like they're like watching it from behind this like wall, Julia and Chenard, and I'm trying to remember what happens next. I feel like they just get like sucked into Leviathan.
Yeah. I mean, from here on in, things get very strange, very surreal. It
Yeah.
is kind of like being in a dream world or in a nightmare. We get images of Tiffany's past, and she's also like seeing clowns, and it's almost like funhouse imagery, which
Mm.
I love.
The baby
Um,
with the like his mouth
yeah,
sewed up. Yeah.
just super creepy, what it all means. I have no idea,
Yeah.
but I know I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
And Kirsty, I'm not saying that right. I'm kind of mixing her with the Patricia Arquette's character,
Oh yeah.
Christy.
It's Kirsty.
It's Kirsty?
I
It
think
is
it's
Kirsty.
Kirsty, I think. Yeah.
Okay,
I
Kirsty.
think. I
Yeah,
think.
you might be right. I'm thinking, yeah, okay. Kirsty, she finds Frank.
Yeah, that scene was cool.
Yeah, she's searching for her dad. We kind of skipped over that she has some kind of vision of her dad, who I'm not positive how she knows it's her dad because she just sees a corpse with no skin,
Yeah.
but he writes in blood on the wall, "Help me, I'm in hell," I
Yep.
think,
Yep.
and super creepy. But she is searching for her dad in the labyrinth. But she finds Frank, who is in his own personal hell where he has to watch, beautiful women writhing under sheets, but he can't engage in any kind of, sexual activity with them. So
That's that's
that's
like every incel today. Like,
yeah,
this is this guy's hell. He's in
yeah,
hell. And it's literally just like, I can't touch women.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
dude, like, I feel like your hell should be worse, Frank. You're a
yeah,
bad guy. Like,
yeah,
um, yeah, well, that was the other thing I was thinking. I was like, why would Kirsty think that her father's in hell? Well, I guess there's
yeah.
demons and stuff involved. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so it was a trick to get her down there. But also, why? Why does Frank even want Kirsty?
Yeah, I think the actor who played her father didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
He was supposed to come back, I believe. So this might be just something that they had to kind of, maybe at some point she was going to find her father. So this might be a little muddy because of that.
He was too
Um,
busy getting ready for Child's Play 3. Like he
oh
was like,
yeah,
"Oh,
that's
I
right.
got I
Yeah,
gotta do that."
he's been in a few movies. I know he was also in Pumpkinhead 2. I don't know
Yeah.
if
He is. He's like the lead.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I
And
know.
he's been in more respectable movies too. Like I think he was the villain in
Dirty Harry, right?
Dirty Harry. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no. But yeah, I was just thinking, I was like, why would Frank want Kirsty down there? But anyways, so Kirsty, she like, oh yeah, then Julia comes down
Right.
and Julia stabs Frank, and she's
Yeah.
like, nothing personal, babe, which is like the same thing he said to her when he stabbed her.
So
Um,
she gets her revenge on
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I don't know why she would need to go back to Earth, get resurrected, and then brought into there if she was already in hell, but
Mm.
whatever, whatever. We're having fun. We're having fun.
Yeah.
So we see Tammy's whole little like hell sequence of all of her carnival stuff, which is another cool matte painting of her running, and we get to see all the exterior of the carnival. Kirsty is now Frank's dead, I guess. I guess if you die in hell, you're probably dead, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So he's gone, and then Shenard and Julia like walk out to the Leviathan, like this
Hmm.
big, massive, like crystal looking thing in the sky that's got
Yeah.
these black like lights, and she describes it as like the god of pain, I think, but like
Yeah.
it's not even a statue. It's just kind of like a thing. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, so in the early versions of the script, from what I understand, it was going to be this kind of Lovecraftian creature, like something a little more like a Satan,
Yeah.
standing over hell.
Yeah.
And, part of me feels that that could have been really cool, but also maybe a little what you'd expect.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I kind of like this, yeah, this structure that looks like the lament configuration. And it's just like, again, it's ambiguous. They don't really explain it, but it just is like, did somebody build this? Did
Yeah.
somebody build this thing? And
Right.
I don't know, I mean, again, the questions raised in this movie don't frustrate me as much as they just make me think, ooh, interesting, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
It is cool. It's still
yeah,
cool
yeah,
regardless, even if you're like, I want there to be like the devil inside of this
right,
like
yeah.
structure that's spinning, but yeah.
But then again, I do feel like this, and I'll get into more of this down the road, but I don't feel like we're in the kind of Christian version of hell.
Hmm.
I feel like, and I think the Cenobites aren't like they aren't demons in the traditional sense,
Hmm.
and I feel like the Labyrinth and Leviathan are more like a different dimension than they are the kind of what we might think of when we think heaven and hell. You know what I mean? So
I want you to remember this when we talk about the third one.
okay, yeah. Um, Yeah, I think I know where you're going. Good
Yeah.
point. But anyway, so I think with that in mind, I feel like a more kind of unconventional Satan here is appropriate.
Yeah, yeah, because it's never like explicitly said what these things are. So it could just
Mhm.
be they could be aliens. I mean, it could be
Yeah.
interdimensional whatevers, but yeah, it still is just so cool to look at and how they built this, and especially without computers, you're like, how this is so sick. Like this,
Yeah.
it looks really good. So now we find out that Shenard is going to be made into a Cenobite. We're like, oh, okay, cool. So like he wanted this. So Julia like pushes him into this like machine and then it like turns him into this like yeah like a Cenobite basically but he's
Mhm.
like a blue guy with like tentacle hands and his like head is attached to this like machine thing and
Yeah.
it's weird looking but it works so he's then sent back to the facility or whatever and that's where Kirsty and Tammy everybody gets back to the mental asylum basically and Chenard is like, just going on like a killing spree. He's just like killing a bunch of patients for like kind of no reason and giving some kind of quippy one-liners that I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Oh
But
man. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. He is. He's given Freddy vibes. He's given latter-day Freddy vibes.
dude, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Like,
Yeah.
we don't even know you, Chenard, and all you're making
Yeah.
like the doctor is in. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh god. Like even though like the Cenobites are, they don't even do that shit. So,
Right.
so yeah, so he's killing a bunch of people. Kirsty and Tammy are upstairs, and Chenard comes to fight them, but there's like a big showdown basically with the Cenobites, and I feel like I've skipped something, but the Cenobites are
Yeah.
there.
Things get
Um,
messy. Things get messy here, but yeah, we do get a pretty anticlimactic showdown between Trinard and the Cenobites. You know, you think there's going to be this battle, and it should be said, and I don't want to make excuses for the movie, and I don't know if it was, if this scene suffered from it, but like about 20% of the budget for this movie got slashed because of they talk about it in the Wolf of Wall Street. I think it's like Black Tuesday. It was like the stock market completely crashed in
uh,
1987
uh,
and it really affected the production of this movie.
huh,
So I think, a lot of this climax was going to be even more elaborate.
yeah,
But that being said, seeing the Cenobites taken out so easily is so disappointing.
dude.
Um,
In the first one, it's the same thing. Like Kiersey's just like
mm,
like tapping
yeah,
the box, and then all of a sudden it's like no, and everybody's just getting like hit with bolts. You're like, damn, okay, well, it's kind of lame. But this one's even worse because you're like,
yeah,
who the fuck is Chenard, and why is he
yeah,
just like you're dead, and like launches spikes at them, and they all just perfect. And you're like, maybe Pinhead will get a punch in. It's like, nah, he just gets it.
yeah.
But
No,
even before that, though, Kirsty like tells Pinhead, she's like, I don't know if you remember, but like, look at this picture, and he's like,
mhm.
wait, maybe I am like this guy or whatever. And then he turns into the guy and he looks at Kirsty and he's just like, thanks, Kirsty. And then gets
Right.
like stabbed and dies. You're like, what is happening right now? Uh,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like, what did Leviathan choose Chernard because he is the most twisted, like, person he's ever come across, and like you are going to be the new leader, the new Cenobite, leader.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, that's what these creatures are, right? Like, I feel like they are, if not the most twisted, like they are people who search for forbidden knowledge,
Yeah.
and at any cost, which the one cool scene, I mean, the one cool moment here is when he kills the Cenobites, they revert back to their human form, and
Yeah.
we see that Chatterer was a kid, you
Yeah. It's
know,
fucked up.
and we don't know anything about that. We
Yeah.
never, maybe there's a comic book out there that explores that. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But that always fascinated me.
Yeah.
Like this, and again, it's an example of this movie being ambiguous, and I kind of like it. It's like lets you think like, who was this kid? You know?
I know, and it's based on the way you're talking about, I'm assuming they don't get to that in the future. So
No, not
yeah,
not
that
that I
would have been something
remember.
cool to bring back in like part seven. You like learn, so I don't know, but yeah, that is cool. I do like that. Yeah, when they get hit, it turns into like the woman, the fat guy, and the little kid, and you're like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
That's interesting. And then they go back to Leviathan, and Julie is fighting with Tammy and Kirsty, but they've
Is her name
turned.
is her name Tammy? I
I
think it's
think
Tiff.
Tiffany. Oh
Tiffany.
shit.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, all right. Little
That's
blonde
okay.
girl,
Yeah.
and she makes the lament configuration into like a spike, basically.
Yeah.
And Julia, they're like running. She like drops it on the ground, and they're just like, "Well, just it's fine, run," and they like leave or
Mhm.
whatever. Julia gets it, and they get into like a scuffle in the hallway or something like that, and then Julia's skin is just perfectly ripped off, and it's
Yeah.
just like left on the ground.
Yeah. For seemingly no reason, they're in like a wind tunnel
Yeah.
and they're yeah, there's some kind of fight. Julia loses her skin, she gets sucked into oblivion, and then
You're like, why? Who's
yeah.
doing this? But yeah, so all the Cenobites are dead now. Julie is dead now, and Chenard is just like, I am the bad guy now. And
Mhm.
he's fighting with Tiffany, and like Tiffany like randomly falls off. She's like, help me. And she's then Julia comes back, and you're like, wait, what? And then Julie's there, she's like, my love. And he's like, I know you'd come back. And they like start like kissing or whatever. And then and Julia stabs Chenard and saves Tammy or Tiffany and then pulls her up, and it's like, it was me. And you're like, and it's
My least
Kirsty.
my least favorite moment in this whole movie.
I mean,
I
that's
mean,
insane.
you can't just put on someone's skin and look like them.
Right. Her
You know?
eyes were blue. She
Yeah.
has brown eyes and they're blue when she puts on the skin. And also, like, what is the skin just like perfect? It's like pajamas.
Yeah.
It just like
Yeah.
perfectly fit in like fucking footsie pajamas. No, like, yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, I'll allow it because, it is the final moments of this movie and, I had a really good time. But ridiculous. I can't,
So crazy.
I could go with a lot in this movie,
Yeah.
but I can't go here.
And then Kirsten's like, gotcha. And they start to leave. I think Leviathan's like, no, and starts like shooting beams at them as they're like, oh my God, they're running home. And like, why did Leviathan didn't, nothing happened to him, but it's like, all right,
Yeah.
whatever. So they escape. They get back to the mental asylum. Leviathan shuts the door, I guess. And everybody's dead. Kirsty and Tammy or Tiffany, whatever. They leave the asylum. They're like, all right, let's go be best friends now. And they just leave together. And then it cuts to the old house of Dr. Chenard and the same mover dude from the first one, which I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like, that guy must have been like, when he got the phone call, like, seriously? Like, okay, cool, fuck it.
Did you hear this little piece of trivia that guy was he Clive Barker gave him two, he, the choice of two roles in the first Hellraiser movie. You could be Pinhead or you could be the mover. And he chose the mover.
Oh,
And
dude.
I don't, what, I didn't look into that. I remember hearing this. I didn't look into it. I don't know the details, but I've heard that story
That
from
sucks.
reliable sources. Yeah.
Well, because that guy is one of the guys they dubbed over his lines in the first
Mm,
one. He's
mhm.
British, and they dubbed him over with like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
Brooklyn guy.
Right.
Um, yeah. So that's interesting, and I'm
Yeah.
sure he's
And
like, "Fuck."
and I don't know if like he didn't want to deal with the makeup or what the story
Yeah,
was, but yeah,
that is a
there
lot.
is something to that.
That's crazy. But
Mhm.
I love that. So yeah, he goes upstairs and he's just like, "What's with this bed?" And then he like touches it and basically these arms come up and grab him and suck him in and this like crazy structure comes out of the bed and it's got, Pinhead's face on it
Oh,
and it's got the guy too. It's like, "What's your pleasure, mister?" From like the
yeah.
first movie. You're like, "What the fuck is happening?" I kind of love it, but what is happening?
Oh, don't ask me. But I mean, that's another moment. Like I remember watching for the first time as a kid, being like, "What is this?" You know. But
Yeah.
yeah, again, this in this final moment, it was supposed to be Julia rising from the mattress one more time. I think
Hmm.
in full like kind of Cenobite garb, whatever her look was going to be.
Yeah.
The kind of Queen of Hell look. But yeah, she didn't want to carry this franchise into the future. That was left to Doug Bradley. So they changed the ending, and what we get is super creepy. Don't ask me to explain it, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I liked it, and I was like, damn, I'm excited for the third one, and I'm glad that they don't kind of retcon that ending. So that's kind of exciting that they actually were like, all right, we retcon the first one, and we'll continue with this story, I guess. Kirsty's gone, but whatever, whatever. Um, but yeah, overall, like, dude, this is a good movie. It's definitely, I feel like you have to see the first one though. Like, this is couldn't really be a standalone. Like, you
Mhm.
should watch the first one to understand what's going on. But I liked it. I
Mhm.
enjoyed the first one. I think I enjoyed this one maybe a tiny bit more, but not much. They're both
Mhm.
great. So I'm excited to see the inevitable downfall of what happens next.
Yeah, I mean, if you like horror, the first two Hellraisers, you gotta see them, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And this has never been my favorite franchise, even like the first couple, they've never been, up there with certain other franchises that I grew up with. But to me, it's kind of aged like fine wine, you
yeah,
know? So yeah, really, really enjoyed this movie. And the first one's great.
yeah. Well, all right. I guess that's all we've got to say about Hellraiser 2 Hellbound. And join us tomorrow as we discuss Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth. So get ready for that. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow with yeah, Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth for our Halloween celebration. I don't know if I said that earlier. This is Halloween. So all right. Thanks, Joe. We'll see you tomorrow.